This is Phil Binko, CEO of Financial Operations Networks, and the topic of today's management overview is vendor self-service portals. Today, we have two questions to ask. What are vendor self-service portals, and why should we use them? Vendor self-service portals are internet-based applications where vendors and internal customers can go to get answers to questions about the payment status of an invoice and to exchange information with their customer. You can have vendors go to a self-service portal to upload information for vendor onboarding or to exchange information electronically, such as entering an invoice online and providing ways to upload invoices. So, why should we consider these features? And here there are a couple of points to consider. One is, how many inquiries are received? How long does it take to resolve them? And what is the cost? And two, what is it that the inquirers really want? How big an issue is answering inquiries? Different companies have different circumstances, but on average, 1 in 10 of all the invoices that an organization or a company receives are inquired upon by someone. Usually, it's the vendor who inquires, but 40% of the time, it's an internal customer who has been contacted by their vendor and asked to provide information about the payment status of an invoice. The second consideration is the time it takes to resolve an inquiry. On average, the total length of a person's time to resolve an inquiry is 9 minutes. And that's from the time an inquiry is addressed until it's researched, until it's answered, and until all of the disruptive impact of handling the inquiry dissipates. Inquiries about invoice payment status are received through many modes: emails, telephone calls, voicemails, faxes, and depending on the organization, sometimes these inquiries can sit in the queue before they're addressed. So, what do inquirers really want? Well, we live in a fast-paced world, and vendors and internal customers want answers, but they want them right now. They must also have accuracy, and, if at all possible, they would like convenience. But what they want comes at a cost to you. When inquiries are handled manually, there's generally a greater expense due to the presence of several drivers. Questions have to be understood before they can be answered. The answer has to be researched. There may be follow-up research and responses. There may be disruption to workflow when someone stops to answer questions and then has to get back into the rhythm of their process. If the inquirer is upset or acts frustrated, there can be greater disruption to workflow, resulting in a negative impact on morale. What causes all of this are the vendors' and internal customers' motivations and their query processes. The vendor reviews their open accounts receivable, reviews customer history, is often responding to internal pressure to speed collections that comes from the vendor's management. The vendor composes and sends emails, they wait for answers, and then often they respond to those answers. It's easy to agree that this process is inefficient, time-consuming, and labor-intensive. According to the Accounts Payable Network, for vendors, the second most common complaint is that they have no visibility into the status of their invoices and payments. On the other hand, what is the internal customer's query process? The internal customer receives calls or emails from the vendor's sales reps or their collections department. They call and leave voicemails or send emails to AP. They wait for answers. They respond to answers. They contact the vendor with the answers. And then they may feel the need to call AP to talk and leave a voicemail or send an email again. As a result, when compared to the vendor's inquiry process, the internal customer's query process is even more inefficient, more time-consuming, and more labor-intensive. And internal customers comprise 40% of all the inquiries. The cost of this can add up, including research, response, and follow-up queries. Each query can take 5 to 30 minutes. The average hourly cost can range from $14 to $32. So the total direct cost is time per query times cost per hour times the number of queries per day times 250 workdays a year. But by allowing vendors and internal customers to answer their inquiries themselves, you can cut costs dramatically. You can increase productivity significantly because your staff can work to solve real problems. And you can foster greater stakeholder relations. Vendor self-service portals have value because portals give the vendor and your internal customers and stakeholders everything they want, timely and accurate answers instantly, with greater convenience because they can access answers on their schedule. And all of this is at a much lower cost to you. What's more, self-service enhances the vendor's perception of your operation, as well as enhancing your internal customers' perception of your operations. And you get credit for providing superior customer service while avoiding the pain of subjecting your staff to difficult inquirers, all of which feeds into a great reputation. It's truly a win-win for all stakeholders. And it lays the foundation for a platform to help you measure timely response by tracking query resolution in timeframes, facilitating vendor onboarding with online tools, disseminating your policies online, and receiving online invoices. If you have further questions, please contact me, Phil Binko, at the address above. Thank you.